What's good, people? What's good, people? We back. We back. We back. Breaking news. Breaking news. Oh man! Just then, this whole YSL trial just took a twist. So we was all looking for a mistrial. You know, these last couple of days been a little crazy. So we was all anticipating a mistrial. Looks like the judge, she came off on her own thing, and Fannie Willis looked like last minute, fourth quarter, 30 seconds on the clock, she went in and worked up some plea deals, and this whole thing just took a little twist, man. So y'all tell me, what do y'all think this means for Young Thug? You know what I mean? That some of the co-defendants agreed to a plea deal. Let's get into this video. Y'all let me know what y'all think. It's not looking too good, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Breaking news, man. YSL trial. Co-defendants agree to plea deals. I know one, it was like, he pleaded to like 20 years with the remainder of the time running on probation. So it looks like he might be released immediately or within the next 24 to 48 hours. But for the next 20 years, he'd be on probation. So y'all let me know what you think. Let's get into it.
All right. I apologize for the interruption. Thanks for y'all's patience. Some of the co-defendants in the ongoing trial wanted to be out here, so they are out here now. And Mr. Harvey, are we ready with Mr. Nichols? All right.
Hold on 1 second before we continue. You already know the ritual already. Get your instruments of choice, your fonto, your grabber, your backwood, your Bob Marley paper, whatever it is you use to roll up. Board the plane, sit back, and get high with me. We here. Never exclusive, man. Let's go.
I think at the podium, please. Thank you.
What does this mean, y'all?
Now let's have him at the podium because he's going to have to take an active part in this entry.
So this is one of the guys. He's pleading out.
All right. Okay, sure. Sergeant, can you swear him in, please?
Yes. Y'all let me know what does this mean for the whole YSL Young Thug situation, man. You know what I mean? I know we was all anticipating a mistrial, and looks like DA Fannie Willis team, they drew up some last-minute plays.
First name Q-U-A-M-A-R.
Let's get into it, y'all.
My last name Nichols, N-I-C-H-O-L-S.
And Mr. Nichols, are you the same person referred to as Quamarvius Nichols on indictment 22 SC 183572?
Yes.
And are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No.
Have you had the opportunity to sign this indictment with?
Right now, she's making sure he's not intoxicated or under the influence of any kind of drugs before he plead out.
And how far did you go in school?
I got my GED.
I did not hear you.
I got my GED.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes.
Do you understand that in this indictment, you were initially charged with count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act? which carried a sentence of 5 to 20 years. You were also charged with count 49 in this indictment, which is murder, which carried a sentence of life. You were charged with 2 counts of participation in criminal street gang activity, which was counts 50 and 51, which each carried a sentence of 5 to 20 years. You were initially charged with counts 53 and 65, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon under Code Section 16-11-133, which each carried a sentence of 15 years.
So you see,
to count 1.
the defense knew they had their backs against the wall.
4, which is possession.
They know these guys want to come home, man, so they just drew up some pleas. It's down for Vincent, you know what I mean? Right now, but
do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty
one of
or
them,
not guilty to these charges?
one of them,
You plead not guilty or remain silent. So you may
pleaded to 20 years with the remainder on probation. So he got like the next 18 years on probation.
With your attorney.
Now he got to fly right.
Hand this to your attorney.
If not, it's all bad.
Did you sign this along with your attorney?
Yes.
What does this mean for Thug now?
Attorney, Mr. Bruce Harvey, about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charge in this indictment.
Yes.
Do you need any more time to discuss this man with your attorney?
No.
Are you satisfied with his counsel and representation?
Yes.
And I'd include in there the counsel and representation by Ms. Westmoreland and Mr. Garland as well. You had a team of attorneys.
That's correct.
All
yes.
right.
And they are all
Lead out to about
attorneys
5
of
counts.
record and have participated in this
Total of
particular
20
proceeding
years.
and negotiations leading up to this proceeding.
Thank you.
Do you waive formal reading of the indictment?
Yes.
Do you waive any and all defects with respect to the indictment?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, have you been arrested on all the charges in this indictment?
Yes.
And Mr. Harvey, the state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Do you know of any outstanding warrants that are related to these charges?
Not related to those charges.
Have you been advised of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge that
So
each charge you
now-
are pleading to?
They basically put Thugs back against the wall.
Do you understand
We're
this is a
taking these
negotiated
pleas.
plea of guilty?
So either he's going to have to
The state
take a
will
plea
recommend to the court
or he's going to have to go to trial by himself.
conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence
tough.
Organizations Act.
They just put him in a very tight
20
spot.
years to serve 7 years in custody, balance on probation.
Yes.
Do you understand as a part of the negotiated agreement, the state will null, prosper, dismiss count 49, which is the murder counts, count 50, 51, which are the gang activity counts, count 53, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, count 54, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and count 65, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Do you understand that is a negotiated agreement?
Yes.
Do you understand that the court does
See,
not
look at their
accept
faces,
that
man. They know they fucked up.
to the maximum
They
of each
fucked up
charge
by
and can run those charges
this guy taking the plea.
over the other.
Yes.
It just drew a little more attention to
Well,
the
there's only
case.
one charge that
So
a guilty plea is
I
being
know.
entered into,
Now,
so
no.
under my
The
book.
codependency in
there's
a
no
very
other
tight spot
sentence to
now.
run anything consecutively with.
They
with
either
regard to
gotta
this
have the
plea.
plea
I
out
understand that.
Yes.
Okay.
Or
Do you understand
Go to
this plea
trial.
may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this
a
jurisdiction,
continuance
other
of this
jurisdictions,
trial.
including
Now,
federal courts?
Yes.
Do you understand if you are
because
currently
of those
on probation or
pleas-
parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on your entering a guilty plea today?
it's a very slim
Do you
chance
understand if you're placed on probation of any kind, you cannot
that these
violate
guys will
any
beat the
criminal
trial
laws or
now.
any governmental unit or any special conditions of probation without being subject to revocation for the balance of your sentence.
Yes.
Do you understand you are not allowed to possess or use a firearm while on probation?
Yes.
Do you understand if you are not a United States citizen, a guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would? And that is true regardless of being advised by your attorney or anyone else.
Yes.
Do you understand that neither the court, your attorney, nor
So y'all let me know once y'all hear this plea.
The Department of
let me know in the comments if he should have took this plea or
No one can guarantee
he had a better chance of going to trial. My opinion is He should have just kept it going with the trial, man, because the time they gave him, man, it don't make no sense.
Conviction, just there would be from a conviction following a trial. For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, your right to hold public office, your right to serve on a jury, your right to obtain a passport, your right to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment.
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or use a firearm in a crime, you will be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison?
Yes.
Do you understand that you waive
Listen
any
to what
and
he's
all
pleading
defenses,
to.
including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes.
Do you understand if you went to trial, you have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to testify to remain silent and not incriminate yourself?
Yes.
Should have kept
Do you
going.
understand that by pleading guilty, you are giving up the following rights? After each right, I'll ask you to say yes or no if you understand. The right to a trial by jury,
Yes.
the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself,
Yes.
the right to confront witnesses against you,
Yes.
the right to assist with counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel
Should've just
if you
kept
do not
going.
want an attorney at the trial of your case,
Yes.
the right to the presumption of innocence,
Yes.
the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence,
Yes.
the right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence,
Yes.
the right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt,
Yes.
the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you're in fact guilty?
Yes.
With respect to indictment 22 SC 183572, how do you plead to count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act?
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with a full knowledge of the charge against you?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have 4 years from today's date to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this plea?
Yes.
And that can challenge anything about the constitutionality of the plea. It's not limited to voluntariness, understand?
Yes.
And Your Honor, if this case were to
Hang on just a second.
Yeah,
You
listen to the
also
plea,
have,
man.
so 4 years for that, to file a direct appeal. You have 30 days from the date of sentencing, which is going to be today. And you have until the end of this term of court to file a motion seeking to withdraw your guilty plea.
Tell me what y'all think in the
Anything
comments.
like that would
You
be
pleaded
granted.
out
You would
or
have
kept
to
the trial
establish
going?
facts that would warrant that. But that's just
My
the
opinion,
time
he should have
period
kept
is
the
until
trial
end of
going.
this term of court. Do you understand those as well?
Yes.
All right.
Your Honor, if this case were to continue with trial, Your Honor, the state would expect, as to this defendant, the state would expect to show that what has already come into evidence, that on July 3rd, 2017, as well as October 23rd, 2018, that this defendant is an associate of the enterprise of YSL, also known as Young Slime Life, and that he conspired to associate together with others.
Yeah, I do understand that this plea just
Money and property through a pattern of racketeering activity.
put a dagger in this case, right?
Enterprise.
There's only 2 options left.
And further to the
And
conspiracy.
right now, it looks like the plea being a better option. Because if any of these guys continue to go to trial, they'll continue this trial here, oh man,
Power and territory of the enterprise through acts of
it's gonna be serious. It's gonna be serious.
murder, assault, and threats of violence, that this defendant preserved, protect, and enhance the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise by the posting of messages, images, appearance in videos, and songs demonstrating allegiance to the enterprise and a willingness to engage in violence on its behalf, and to obtain money, weapons, and other property through acts of racketeering activity, including the unlawful sale and distribution of drugs.
Oh man.
Evidence has come in during this trial that on July 3rd,
Go,
2017.
yo. This is why
Was located at 2612 Steel Avenue.
you gotta pay attention, man. This is why you gotta stay focused. Know your surroundings, know who you're dealing with.
Inside of a vehicle when that vehicle was searched, Your Honor, and this was in October 2018, they found marijuana as well as sandwich baggies that would be used to package drugs. And there are also guns found inside of that vehicle. Also in July of 2017, this defendant was stopped during a traffic
They
stop.
copped out to like 4 of the fucking
area, Your Honor,
charges.
within
4 or 5 of the charges he copped out to.
search of the vehicle.
The number they gave him is crazy.
DMA, Xanax, as well as a loaded gun inside of that vehicle. Additionally, Your Honor, in July of 2019, Mr. Nichols was featured in a video with another YSL member, Shannon Stillwell, and Woody Lee. In that video, it was entitled Slap Talk. And in that video, co-conspirator Shannon Stillwell, while performing, makes such quotes as, "Me and my slimes are above the law." We know from the evidence that slimes is one of the terminology used by members of YSL to refer to themselves or other members of this enterprise. And then last but certainly not least, Your Honor, that in March of 2022, Your Honor, Mr. Nichols was
Got that Sour Hour merch available
at a gas station and
in the description at the bottom. That's the link. Go check out the merch shop. Got a lot of exclusive stuff up there. You know what I mean? Trucker hats, got some winter beanies up there. Trying to design some ugly Christmas sweaters, trying to get that out there by the second week of November. You know what I mean? I appreciate all the love, man. You know, again, just tuning in. Breaking news. Co-defendants of the YSL case takes plea deals. What does this mean for Young Thug?
Early part of March 2022, around March 3rd of 2022. Once that information was released to the public, there was.
Does this mean he'll have to take a plea also?
Between March 3rd.
Or should he continue with the trial?
2022. That includes a March 11th homicide of YSL associates Christian McMiller and Darius Ford. It also did include a retaliatory shooting of a YFN associate, and ultimately it led to a murder of Shamel Drinks, who we believe is a YFN associate. This murder occurred again on March 14, 2022. Mr. Nichols is seen on surveillance video at that BP gas station, as I just referenced earlier. He was at the gas station with YSL co-conspirator Shannon Stillwell. Mr. Stillwell was driving an Audi vehicle. Mr. Nichols came to that gas station in a Ford Fusion vehicle. You see both of them on camera together. While they are at that gas station, Shamel Drinks approaches that gas station as well. I think unbeknownst to Mr. Drinks, Mr. Stillwell was still in his vehicle, which is the Audi. At some point in time, Mr. Nichols got to his vehicle, the Ford Fusion. Once Mr. Drinks finished his business or finished handling business at that gas station, we know that there is a phone call between occupants of the car that Mr. Stillwell was in and occupants of the car that Mr. Nichols was in. That communication was to the effect of, you need to get on FaceTime. As soon as that conversation ensues, we see Mr. Drinks leave the gas station in his vehicle, and both the car that Mr. Stillwell is driving, as well as the car that Mr. Nichols is driving, both follow out of the gas station, following behind Mr. Drinks. Mr. Drinks proceeds down the street to the light at Windsor, which is right by I-20 in Windsor. Mr. Drinks is in the far left lane. The car involving with Mr. Stillwell pulls up to the middle lane, and Mr. Nichols' vehicle pulls up to the far right lane. This is all captured on surveillance video and surveillance camera. They are at the light for a moment. Then we see both this car.
Let's speed it up a little bit so we can get right to the sentencing.
Drive through a red light.
In any way, in the
Mr. Harvey, have you reviewed
So
with
this the way he
Mr.
takes the
Nichols
sentence,
this
y'all.
plea of guilty and waiver of rights form, which the two of you have both signed?
I have, Judge, in
All
each
right.
individual provision in that plea colloquy has been acknowledged and gone over personally with Mr. Nichols.
All right. And Mr. Nichols, have you had sufficient time to consider this guilty plea that has been negotiated between the state and your attorneys, and to discuss anything you wanted to about that with your attorneys?
Yes.
All right. And you understand, I hope, I'm going to ask you, that it is your decision ultimately, obviously with the advice of your attorneys, but it's ultimately up to you individually to decide whether you want to enter this guilty plea or not. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. And you do want to enter this guilty plea?
Yes.
All right.
You heard him, right?
And Mr. Harvey, have you advised Mr. Nichols of the alternatives if he does not ultimately go through with this guilty plea, and the potential benefits and drawbacks of all of the other options?
Yes,
All right.
very thoroughly, Judge.
All right. All right, Mr. Harvey, is there anything that the defense wants to add to the record?
Here we go, y'all. Listen up, y'all.
Other than the statement with regard to the underlying factual basis, I would point out for the court that when Mr. Nichols filled out his form, it says 29 plus. He is a birthday boy in a couple of days and he will be 30. And at 30 years of age, he has a wife. He has got a 13-year-old daughter. He's got a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. His wife and sister, I believe, are here in the courtroom to support him. He, Mr. Nichols, was born and raised in Atlanta. And, you know, we're at this point before I have even given my opening statement in this case.
Yes, sir.
I do want the court to know that Mr. Nichols' mother died in prison. His father was shot by the Atlanta police when he was 4 years old. And he was raised by friends and family in the Atlanta area. So he has come to this point in his life from a very humble beginning. And he has sought the support of friends in this courtroom and others in this courtroom.
What y'all think about the plea? Let me know in the comments, man. Do y'all agree with him taking a plea? Or should he just kept going with the trial?
He is an intelligent young man who I believe has a future. Every day we do a word of the day. We put a new word into a sentence. And I think this is in his best interest. I know that there is, and I know this plea is negotiated, but it's a long downside from 7 to 20. So the courts will have jurisdiction over him for a period of time. So I asked the court, given who this young man is, and given our categorical denial of some of the factual basis, to accept the plea and sentence Mr. Nichols accordingly.
Mr. Nichols, is there anything that you want to say?
No, ma'am.
All right.
Listen, y'all.
All right. I find there to be a factual basis for the guilty plea to the RICO count one of the indictment, that being a conspiracy to acquire control or interest in money and personal property through a pattern of racketeering activity. And that is the only count that guilty plea is being entered for. The remaining counts of this indictment as against Mr. Nichols are being null pros by the state as a part of this indictment. I find, having heard the evidence up to the point of trial right now that there is evidence of at least one overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. And that there is evidence that would fall within the required statute of limitations to establish this RICO conspiracy count. One of the things that we as judges are instructed by our Uniform Superior Court rules to do when we are considering whether to accept a guilty plea and whether to accept a negotiated sentence, and this is a negotiated sentence in this case, is to take into account whether giving leniency in sentencing is going to aid in ensuring promptness and certainty, or at least more promptness and more certainty with regard to corrective measures, whether the defendant, and in this case, the defendant has acknowledged guilt and is accepting responsibility for his guilt of the RICO count, and whether accepting the plea will aid in avoiding further delays, not just with regard to this case, but with regard to the entirety of our system here in Fulton County. And this plea does go towards doing all of those things. I am going to accept the plea as negotiated and sentence in accord with the negotiated recommendation. As I said before, find there to be a factual basis for count one of the plea. I find the plea to have been freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered into by Mr. Nichols with an understanding of the consequences of doing that. And the sentence on count one is the sentence that has been negotiated of 20 years to serve 7, with the balance of those years to be served on probation. And that, I don't know if there are any special conditions attached to this that y'all have talked about at all.
There are no negotiated special
Okay.
conditions in those, so there are none as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Okay. So with regard to the time that you are on probation, you need to stay out of all kinds of criminal trouble. Make this a birthday present to yourself and to your children and to your wife and family, that you will leave from here today and leave whatever you used to do behind you, and take the next few years. You know, you're going to have some years that are still to be served on this. You'll have credit for the time you've already served, but you're still going to be facing some incarceration time. But after that, you are going to be out, and you, I believe Mr. Harvey is correct, can be a productive member of society. And this is an opportunity for you to do that, and for you to put your past behind you, the bad parts of it, and continue and make your children proud of you, and set a good example for them, an example that I guess unfortunately you were not lucky enough to have throughout the entirety of your childhood with your parents. I'm sorry about that, but you can be the kind of parent that you ought to be to your children. So I am going to impose that sentence, and I am going to wish you luck and good fortune as you go forth from here. So I think that unless there's anything else from either party, that will conclude these proceedings, and y'all can go ahead and take him into custody. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, man. So y'all tell me what y'all think. Was it a wise decision for him to go and take that plea deal of 20 years with him having to serve 7, and the remaining 13 years he'd be on probation? My honest opinion, that plea just kind of shifted all the momentum to the state side. It put the other co-defendants backs against the wall. So now they got a tough decision to make. Either continue with the trial or take plea deals. By the gentleman pleading to count one. That makes the whole case a lot stronger for the state. You know what I mean? So it's not looking too good right now with this plea being accepted by one of the co-defendants in this whole case. So those that have been staying in tune with the case, keep watching. It's a lot more to come following this plea. And, you know, I mean, those that have been supporting, keep supporting. We back. It's our podcast, y'all. Peace.